Welcome, welcome, welcome. How's it going today? Ed Reiner, your daily dose of mind stuff, and I am excited to be here today. I want to welcome you guys to this quick daily dose of mind stuff, a short little shot injection of personal development for happiness, health, and wealth to start your day, afternoon, your evening, depending on whenever it is that you're watching this. So, today we are going to found another part of this seminar that I've chopped up with Jim Rohn. I hope you like Jim Rohn. He has wonderful content. His ideas are really good, and it's the things that I've been talking about and that Bob talks about, and it's another spin. It's another angle, another point of view, different stories that bring the same points across, the same ideas about these universal laws, our mind, but might not just be saying it. It's, all of the personal development stuff that's out there. You can read books and go to seminars and watch videos on YouTube. Bob had studied for 9 years. Well, he changed his life. Then he studied for 9 years to figure out what happened. And it was when he found the stick person from his mentor, Leland Val Vanderwall. And when he brought that idea to him, everything fit together. And that is the spiritual aspect of who we are and our mind and how our mind functions and how our conscious and our subconscious mind set up the vibratorial rate in our body, which is the feeling, which causes the behavior and the actions and the results. All of that is like the key to all of these other things. So when we listen to somebody like Jim Rohn or Tony Robbins or Zig Ziglar or Les, I don't know why I just mind blanked his name, Les Brown, Mark Victor Hansen, all of these guys, they have phenomenal content, phenomenal ideas, but when you know the stick person and you know how the mind functions, it just unlocks it and it makes much more sense and it kind of gives you an aha. So anyway, enough of that. I'm going to pop over to Jim. I've kind of switched my setup today, so if I'm looking different places, that is why. And let's pop onto here and I'll see you guys in a minute.
Shoaff taught me these. They come from the Bible. Now, again, I'm an amateur, okay? When it comes to the Bible, I'm not a pro. So you'll sort of have to take my way of putting it. But here they are. The first one is the law of use. The law of use. And it goes something like this. Whatever you don't use, you lose. Lack of use causes loss. On this planet, maybe not the next one, but on this one, if you tie your arm to your body, leave it there long enough, you'll never use it again. It's over for the arm. Now, it may not be over, but it's over for the arm. The only way to keep the use of this arm is what? Keep using it. If you quit, you lose automatically. They don't bring it up for a vote. You lose automatically when you quit. Now, the same thing that goes for your arm goes for your brain, mentality. The same thing goes for all the human virtues. Ambition, unused, declines. Strong feelings, unused, diminish. It doesn't grow, it diminishes. Faith, unused, decreases. It's a law. Vitality, unused, diminishes. Energy, unused, decreases. The guy says, well, I'm going to save up my energy. You can't do that. That's like trying to save today, put it on the end of the year. See, you can't do that. They'll come take you away. If you don't use today, what? It's lost. The guy says, well, I'll work twice as hard tomorrow to make up for it. See, that's foolish. You could have done that anyway. Today, unused is lost. A talent unused is lost. An ability unused is lost. So here's one of the key expressions of the evening. Take a new inventory of yourself. Starting tomorrow, new project. Take a new inventory. And make sure that all of your talent and ability and mentality and ingenuity and vitality and strong feelings, faith, courage, make sure that all you've got's being used. Otherwise, you lose. Now, one of the best illustrations of the law of use is a Bible story called the Parable of the Talents. The talent story. Interesting story if you haven't read it in a while. Just review it. It's a good story. An ancient story. It says there was a master with 3 servants. He got them together one day and he said to the 3, I've got these talents. And in those ancient days, a talent was a measure of gold. And he said to the 3 servants, take these talents and see what you can do with them while I'm gone. He said, I'm taking a journey and I'll be gone for a while. When I come back, we'll get together, go over the book, see how you did. He said, here's 5 of these talents for you. 5. Here's 2 of them for you. 2. And here's 1 for you. 1. The master said, take those talents, see what you can do with them. When I come back, we'll get together, we'll go over it all. The servant said, okay, master takes off. According to the ancient story, the master comes back from his trip. When he gets back, he gets the 3 servants together. And as he said he would, he asks, how did it go with those talents? You were 5. What happened? That servant said, well, I took the 5 talents you gave me and I put them to work. A little shaky at first, but he said things finally got rolling. And he said, I poured it on. And he said, my talents grew to 7, 8, 9, 10. He said, I doubled my talents from 5 to 10. Books will show. Master said, one heck of a job. Or something like that. He said, I gave you 2 talents. What happened? That servant said about the same thing happened to me. I put those 2 talents to work, poured it on. They grew to 3 and then to 4. He said, I doubled my talents from 2 to 4. Books will show. Master said, well done. He said, I gave you 1 talent. What happened? That servant said, well, I took the talent you gave me and I carefully wrapped it and I dug a hole and buried it. And camouflaged it, I suppose, right? So nobody would steal it. And he said, fortunately, nobody got it. And he said, I knew you were going to be here today, so I dug it up. Here it is, safely wrapped. I did not lose it while you were gone. According to the ancient story, the master said, take that talent away from him and give it to the man that's got 10. Now you might say, well, I don't like that arrangement. The poor guy's only got 1 talent. He's already got 10. It ought to be more even. Remember, I didn't ask you to like it. But this one I would ask you to learn, because it simply means whatever you do not employ, you forfeit. It's a law. So learn well the law of use. Now here's the second one, and we're going to take our break. Second law from the Bible. This one we've heard since we were small, I'm sure. It's called the law of sowing and reaping. In fact, we've probably heard it so often we could quote it. It says, whatever you sow, what? You shall reap. Fairly blunt, hopefully clear. Here's my first suggestion on the law of sowing and reaping. Don't try to beat it. You might as well try sitting on the sun in the morning. Keep it from coming up. You'll have better luck. Whatever you sow, you reap. Now, for a fair share of my life, I'm a bit mixed up on how all this applies. Among a lot of things I was mixed up on. I knew I wasn't reaping too good. That I understood. My problem was I was confused about what was causing it. Remember me with the funny list? I thought those are the reasons why it isn't working out well. And then Mr. Schoaf gave me the clue that helped me figure it all out. He said, Mr. Rohn, I have another answer for you. There's another way to quote this law that'll show you where the problem is so you can go to work on it right away. All you need to know is where the problem is, then you can go to work on it. So he quoted me the law another way, and I found out what my problem was. Here's the way you quote the law. Whatever you reap is what you've sown. Now I knew what my problem was. Whatever you reap is what you've sown. If you don't like the crop, who do you look up? Answer, whoever planted it. And where do you find who planted your crop? Answer, in the mirror. What I finally learned to do come fall was to go to the mirror. That's where you go. And if necessary, you say, a few skinny carrots? I got to be unimpressed. Where were you last spring? Asleep. Didn't you read the books? Did you break your hoe? Let me give you 7 key points to the law of sowing and reaping. Let's tick right down through the list of 7, and it'll be break time. 7 points to sowing and reaping. Here's part of the philosophy that really helped me to make some changes in life direction. Number 1, the law of sowing and reaping is negative. That's number 1, which simply means if you sow bad, you reap bad. Now, this is kind of 3rd grade, but it doesn't hurt to go over the basics. If you plant thistle seeds, you don't get pumpkins. Honest, no use looking for pumpkins. John says, how come no pumpkins? Come on, John. The law's negative. That's how come. Now, here's number 2. The law's positive, which simply means if you sow good, you reap good. If you plant pumpkin seeds, you don't get thistles. Not from pumpkin seeds. Mother Nature won't pull tricks on you over in the corner snickering, pushing you thistles and you planting pumpkin seeds. She won't do that. You will get pumpkins from pumpkin seeds, and the reason is because the law is positive. Now, here's number 3. I got excited when I found out the full dimension of this. See, you do not reap what you sow, but rather you always reap much more than what you sow. So the 3rd key word is more. You don't get back what you put out. You get back much more than what you put out. And it works both positive and negative. On the negative side, it said, if you sow to the wind, you reap the whirlwind. So you got to get ready for that, or you will be naive. See, anybody can, whether you will or not. See, that's the question. And here's a good question to ask. We are all buying somebody's plan. The question is, whose? Who's got you talked into doing what you're doing? Who's got you talked into your present plan? See, 10 years from now, you will surely arrive. The question is, where? But see, anybody, if you want to, can go searching for a good plan, pick it, and start working it. And sure enough, as the time passes, as it surely will, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, then you'll be winding up wearing what you want to wear, driving what you want to drive, living where you want to live, become what you want to become. But now's the time to fix the next 10 years. And who can? Anybody. Here's number 6. The 6th key to sowing and reaping. This is leveling with you now, as we promised to do. There's one thing better than the truth, and that's the whole truth. And here's part of the whole truth of the law of sowing and reaping. Number 6 is, you could lose. There are times when you just lose, no matter what you do. It's that kind of planet. You reap what you sow. Yes, but... what does that mean? Yes, but... well, the farmer plants his crop in the spring, takes care of it all summer, loves his family, works 10, 12 hours a day, 6, 7 days a week, is an honorable man. Come fall, he's got a beautiful crop, and he deserves every bit of it. But the day before he sends the combines into the field, a hailstorm comes along and beats it all in the ground, which means you lose. Somebody says, well, what did he do wrong? Answer, nothing. It's just that kind of planet. Sometimes it's going to hail on your crop and rain on your parade, so you got to get ready for that or you will be naive. That's just part of the life arrangement. And don't press me why. I was not in on some of the original decisions here, so I don't know how it got set up. But there's just times, sometimes you lose. That's part of life. But now here's number 7. The 7th key to sowing and reaping. And it goes like this. It's just another way to quote the same law. And it goes like this. If you don't sow, that's just another way to quote the law. If you don't sow, what? You don't reap. You don't even have a chance. So if you looked at your game plan tomorrow, you might come to the quick conclusion, I got to get some sowing going. How true. Get you some sowing going. And remember, you've got plenty of time. You've got all the time there is. Some people spend enough TV time to make a fortune. The latest article on television watching in this country, according to the latest article, the average television is on in this country in every household 7 hours a day, called the Big 7. I asked a guy one time what his TV cost. He said about $450. I said, you forgot to look at the price tag. He said, what do you mean? I knew he was a TV watcher. I said, that television costs you, in my opinion, at least $12,000 a year. To watch it, not to own it. Owning it's cheap. Watching it is what's expensive. And I said, hey, $12,000 a year is too much to pay to watch TV. That's too much. Pay a little, but not $12,000. And he's the guy that said, I hope pay TV never comes.
All right. So, law of use and the law of sowing and reaping. Excuse me. Really good information on, and a different take on those laws. The law of sowing and reaping. Well, the law of use, let's back up to, is super simple. And what we don't use, we lose. So he was giving examples of all sorts of different things. I'm going to go a different route with that and give some examples. But when people don't use their mind and they don't think, they don't necessarily lose it, but they lose the ability to do it quickly. Everything diminishes. So if we don't use our intellectual factors, which most people don't even know what they are, and our intellectual factors, we correspond and we live and relate to our outside world through our physical senses. We all know what those are. We can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. That's how we correspond with our outside world. We see what's happening. We hear something on the news. We, smell something bad. We know that maybe it's a fire, whatever it may be. We use our physical senses. Now, we also have these higher faculties that allow us to live with our inner world and influence and change our outer world. And those are our intellectual factors. And those are the factors that Napoleon Hill said that an educated person is not a person with an abundance of specialized knowledge. He said, to be educated, I was looking for it in here, one must develop the factors of their mind, their intellectual factors, to the extent that they can have anything that they want without hurting or violating the rights of others. So if we can create our world with our intellectual factors, it would probably be a good idea that we know what they are. And if we don't know what they are, most of us probably are not using them. If we are, we're using them unconsciously. And those are the people that some of those people may have really good results, but they are what we call an unconscious competent. They can't transfer that knowledge to someone else because they don't know what they're doing. They may think it's the actions that they're doing, but it's not. It's the use of the intellectual factors, and our intellectual factors, our imagination, our ability to reason, the will, our memory, our perception. Those are our factors. And if we're not using those, as the law of use says, we start to lose them. Most people are not using their imagination. They are in the wrong way. They're imagining all the wrong things that can happen, all the bad things. They're not using their imagination to create an image of what they want in life. Some may, and they may be just daydreaming, because then they use their imagination and their reasoning to think of all the reasons why they can't have what they're imagining. But we really haven't used our imagination since we were kids in the sandbox. When we were kids, we could use our imagination was in full gear. We had boxes, most kids. It was funny because when my children were little, and I've seen this with other kids, during birthdays or Christmas time, they had a big box of something. Once they open up that toy, they want to play with the box. Their imagination is running. So most people aren't using their imagination. The law of use, we're not using it, we're losing it. Our memory. Everybody says that we have, I shouldn't say everybody say, but most people say we have a terrible memory. Well, if we're not using it and constantly trying to improve it, we lose it. Like Jim was saying, if you put your arm and tie it up on the side, you end up losing the function of that. Bob uses the exact same analogy. He says, if I took my arm and I put it in a sling, and then Bob takes it further and says, if I took this arm and then I lifted weights with it, what would happen? This arm here that's in the sling would be rendered useless. This arm would be huge and develop big muscles. This one would atrophy because we're not using it, the law of use. So we want to start to use our intellectual factors, and we want to use some of these other things that we're learning as we're going through these videos and these teachings. The second law he talks about is the law of sowing and reaping. Now, this law is referred to in a bunch of different ways. I mean, someone's just off the top of my head that I can think of as the law of harvest, or karmatic law. That's karma for you. Emerson called it the law of laws. He called it the law of cause and effect. So this is the law, and I like how Jim puts it. If you're not liking what your results are, what the effects are, you have to go and look at what was sown. Now, if we look at our thoughts and our thinking, everything starts in the mind with a thought. Everything. The desk that you possibly are sitting at, this pen, the camera that I'm looking at, my glasses, it all began in someone's mind with the imagination. So the ideas that we put into our mind and the thoughts that we think are seeds that we are planting into the subconscious mind. We are sowing those seeds. You can look at this law in a whole bunch of different ways, as far different applications and situations. So as he said that, if you want to find out what you're reaping, look at what you've sown. I'll take it back further, because most people will take that and they'll listen to that and go, Okay, that's good. What actions was I taking? What was I doing? That's not what was sown. What was sown caused those actions. What was sown were the ideas that were planted into the subconscious mind. And when those ideas grew, that then created the feelings that caused the behavior and the actions that caused the harvest, that caused the results that we reaped. So this is why I say that stick person is key to all other personal development teachings, because even though what Jim was saying was spot on, he was missing that part of the thinking is actually what is being sown. So, some things to think about. If you don't like the results you're getting, if you don't like what you're harvesting, then start to look at what you are thinking. What is your attitude about what you're doing? Because attitude, as we talked before, is all three. It's our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions that create our attitude. So what's our attitude towards building a business? What's our attitude towards going out and selling? What's our attitude towards other people? What's my attitude towards, a project that you're about to do? Because those are the thoughts, feelings, and then the actions that are going to create the results. Those are the thoughts that are being planted in as those seeds that then eventually we are going to harvest. Now, one thing that he didn't mention is that we have to remember that what we sow, we don't reap in the same season. We sow, and then there's a period of time. There's that gestation period for those seeds to grow. Most people will sow, and then they'll go out and they'll look to see, has it grown? When you plant a seed, a flower, whatever it is, you don't plant that seed and the next day you'll go dig it up to see if it's starting to take root. We plant it, we water it, we take care of it, right? And we let it go, and we let God take care of the rest. The same holds true with what we're doing. We want to plant these ideas of what it is that we want. We'll focus on it, and then we just get on with the work with full faith that everything that we want is coming to us, and it will be to us at the time that we need it. So anyway, food for thought. And I know I just said that a minute ago, but that is where we're going to stop today. Tomorrow, I believe, will probably be around 8:30-ish Mountain Time, which is going to be 10 Eastern Time. So I will put up a notice when I am ready with that, and that is a firm time. But otherwise, think about that. See what you're sowing. Take a look at cause and effect, this law of laws, and apply it into your life consciously. See where you've been applying it and how you can use it to change the results that you want to get in your life. All right, so this is Ed Reiner with your Daily Dose of Mind Stuff. I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace. God bless.